a letter from eternity. Before mankind, before Abraham, Moses, or David were born, before the first galaxy dawned in the endless darkness, there was a world of brilliant light, the kingdom of heaven. There, the angels knew no sin. They knew no death. They knew no rebellion until the day Lucifer rose up and broke the peace. But after that war, after the enemy was banished from heaven, a new era appeared, a time of absolute peace, where millions of angels worshipped him. They sang, "Glory to him forever and ever." They knew no sorrow, no worry, and they did not know that one day would come, the day when heaven would witness the most painful thing in the history of eternity. The one they loved most was hung on a rough wooden tree. No angel knew that love would lead him to become a man. No angel knew that one day the Son of God would be torn between two criminals. They only knew that he was the glory, the light, the Lord of all things visible and invisible. And yet, he hung on the cross. Heaven had never trembled so much. Chapter 1. The kingdom of heaven before the crucifixion. Heaven is not empty, nor is it a quiet place. It is a glorious empire, where light moves like living waters, where praise echoes like 1,000 waterfalls. Different ranks of angels, seraphim, fiery beings, closest to the throne, cherubim, guardians of God's glory, warrior angels, mighty army that defeated Satan. Messenger angels bring messages to men. Servant angels serve before his throne. All know one thing. The Logos, who later became known as Jesus, is the center of heaven. He is not just the Son of God. He is the first light that shone in the darkness of creation, the voice that spoke heaven and earth, the one without whom heaven cannot exist. When mankind sinned and the world fell into death, heaven thought, has the Creator's plan failed? But then they heard the first promise of redemption, Genesis 3:15. One was coming. They expected a heavenly warrior, a glorious prince, a shining God coming down. But to their utter surprise, they saw him, born in a manger. Heaven was amazed. They asked one another, where is his glory? Why did he choose poverty? Why is the one we bow down to lying in straw? They did not understand, but they kept silent, knowing that the plan was beyond the wisdom of the angels. Chapter 2. The day of Jesus' arrests. Heaven shocks. The night in the Garden of Gethsemane was not just a night of pain on earth. It was a night of panic in heaven. On the Mount of Olives, when Jesus knelt down, his sweat became drops of blood falling to the ground. Luke 22:44. No angel could bear it. A seraphim knelt before the Father's throne, pleading for intervention. Father, let us go down and rescue you. But heaven was not commanded. When the soldiers with swords came to arrest him, all heaven stood up. They held flaming swords, looking down at the earth like storms waiting for thunder. He only needed to say, Father, I need rescue. Then Michael will come down with his army. Gabriel will send a warning, and the whole Garden of Gethsemane will be reduced to ashes. But he did not speak. He let them bind him, let them beat him, let them lead him away like a criminal. Heaven seemed to be torn apart. An angel asked in a low voice, What are you doing? Another angel answered in a trembling voice, You are giving yourself up for sinners. No one understood. Chapter 3. The commercial scene before the crucifixion. When Jesus was whipped with iron rods, heaven could not stand still. Each blow shook the heavens. Each groan of his broke the hearts of thousands of angels. A warrior angel roared, Why do men do this to their Creator? Why should the innocent one bear the shame of the guilty? Gabriel had to hold the angel by the shoulder. You shall not come down. You shall not. But why? Because they knew the prophecy. He was wounded for our iniquities. Isaiah 53-5. No one had the right to interfere. Chapter 4. On the way to the cross. Tears of heaven. What did the angels see? They saw him fall to his knees. They saw him being punched in the face. They saw blood running down his eyes. They saw him carrying a tree that was heavier than the sky he had created. One angel cried out in despair, "Look, all you heavenly hosts, he who created the sun cannot stand under the weight of a tree." Another angel replied, "No, he could, but he would not use his power to avoid pain." They all wept, and the tears of heaven fell like cold dew, soaking the ground of Jerusalem, where no one knew that heaven was weeping for humanity. Chapter 5. When the sky shaked and angels covered. The sky darkened slowly, as if a giant curtain had been pulled down by an invisible hand. The pale yellow light of noon faded, replaced by a leaden gray as heavy as stone. The people at the foot of Golgotha began to murmur, many shuddering, not understanding why the sky was changing. But in heaven, the angels understood. They knew that the most terrifying and also the most glorious moment in the history of the universe was approaching. Archangel Michael stood among the countless shining hosts. His gaze fell upon the cross on which the Son of God breathed his last. The heavenly wind blew through millions of wings, but not a sound was heard. All was silent. Then, as the anguished cries of the crowd on the ground rang out, Michael took up his sword not to fight, but to pin it to the earth and sky, a symbol of submission to the Father's will. No angel was allowed to interfere in this moment of redemption. "This is the will of the Father." Michael's faint whisper echoed in the holy air, causing countless angels to bow their heads and spread their wings before them, unable to bear the sight of such a holy yet painful scene. Chapter 6. Silent pain in heaven. In the heavenly palace, where God's throne is enveloped in eternal light, something unprecedented happened. All sound ceased. No more angelic song. No more heavenly harp. No more vibration of the glorious horizon. Heaven was silent. It was as if the whole universe held its breath. The angels in the heavenly councils stood in endless rows. Some covered their faces with their wings. Some knelt. Some shed tears. The Bible had foretold this. "I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered." Zechariah 13-7. But no one had expected such a painful prophecy. A young angel, Seraphim Elariel, fell to his knees when he saw the blood falling from Jesus' side to the ground. The blood was so bright that it could be seen from afar in heaven. Elariel whispered, "It is not just blood. It is a covenant written in everlasting love." Do this, Sephin. Chapter 7. A secret mission in the dark. At the very moment Jesus was about to bow his head, when he exclaimed, "It is finished." John 19:30. The angels were not allowed to save him, but they were given another mission, invisible and absolutely vital: to protect the new covenant from the attacks of darkness. In heaven, the army of light prepared and readied, and underground, Hades shook as the demons realized their plan had failed. The archangel Gabriel commanded, "Guard the souls of the righteous who are waiting for the fulfillment of the covenant." The hour of their deliverance has come, and at the moment Jesus breathed his last, the curtain in the temple was torn in two, as the Bible says, Matthew 27-51. In heaven, all the angels knelt down, not because of defeat, but because the greatest victory had just been achieved. Chapter 8. Heavenly Switch. When man sees darkness, but heaven sees light, the world sees only a pitiful scene, a man hanging on a cross, humiliated, abandoned. But heaven sees something completely different. The gates of heaven are opened, the chains of sin are broken. The path of salvation shines from heaven to earth. Elariel, the young angel from earlier, stands at the boundary between light and darkness. He sees the souls of thousands of righteous people from the time of Adam, Abraham, David, waiting for the Redeemer to enter Hades and lead them out. He whispers, "This is your hour, Jesus. Lead them home." Then each angel opened the way, kneeling as the Lamb of God, now disembodied, entered death, bringing with him the power of deliverance. Chapter 9. Heaven rings in silence. No one sings. No one speaks. But every angel feels the victory of life over death. They are not allowed to fight in that moment of redemption, for Jesus must win the battle alone, but they stand by, awaiting the moment of resurrection. And heaven trembles as he begins to break down the doors of Hades. Chapter 10. The invisible battle in the dark territory. When Jesus entered Hades, heaven could not see the battle raging beneath the surface of the world. It was an invisible battle, but more powerful than any battle ever fought. Hell trembled as the powers of darkness realized that the king had come to destroy their thrones. Satan, the prince of darkness, rose with all his dark army. He could not believe that a human, even the Son of God, would dare to invade his dark domain. The demons let out a mad cry, spewing black fire from their mouths, and charged fiercely toward Jesus. But he stood upright in the midst of the storm, the glorious light radiating from his heart, dispelling all darkness. Michael and the angels saw that light from heaven like an arrow of light piercing the darkness of sin. Gabriel sounded a mighty trumpet, as if signaling the final battle between life and death. At that moment, Jesus stretched out his arms and spoke a majestic word. "I am the life. Whoever believes in me will never die." The chains of Hades were broken. The doors of Hades were thrown open. Chapter 11. The great escaping of the righteous souls. The righteous souls have waited for thousands of years, since the time of Abraham, Moses, David, and many others, in longing and hope. When the voice of God is heard, they sense their deliverance approaching. A gentle wave of light falls upon them, dispelling all their chains. Angelic messengers fly down, supporting their souls, leading them through the open gates of heaven. They shout with joy, joining the heavenly song. Heaven resounds. Sing, all you angels, the Lamb has triumphed. Death has no power. Michael reaches out his hand to each soul, leading them into the kingdom of light. Chapter 12. Heaven's triumphant song. When Jesus was resurrected, heaven exploded with glorious song and dance. Seraphim, cherubim, and all the angels sang together. God is our Redeemer, glorious Lamb. They flapped their wings, creating waves of wind like tidal waves of light. Heaven became more brilliant than ever, the light from the throne shining like the midday sun. Gabriel blew the heavenly trumpet, calling all creatures in the universe to join in this glory. Chapter 13. The Day of the Ascension. Indescribable glory. After 40 days of appearing to his disciples, Jesus ascended into heaven in a brilliant light. Heaven opened its doors wide. Angels knelt down to greet him, surrounded by light like an endless halo. Michael took him to the Father's throne, and the light from the throne spread everywhere, causing even the darkest corners to disappear. The angels' voices rang out, "We bow down to worship God, our Redeemer of glory." Revelation 5:12. Chapter 14. Lessons from Heaven for Humanity. Heaven wept over the pain Jesus endured on the cross, teaching us a great lesson in love and sacrifice. Heaven trembled over Jesus' arrest, reminding us of the need for holiness in our lives. Heaven sang over the resurrection, calling us to follow the path of light. Heavenly love and the eternal invitation. The day of Jesus' crucifixion was the day eternal love was demonstrated in blood and tears. The angels could do nothing but weep and worship because that love surpasses all power. Today, the invitation still resonates. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Listen to the voice of heaven, follow the light of the Lamb, and join the angels in singing forever in glory.